Frontline Briefing, uncovering modern warfare's hidden battles. Eastern Pacific, approximately 200 nautical miles off the coast of Central America. Date unspecified, though footage appears consistent with recent Coast Guard operations. A U.S. Coast Guard Montrose 65 Dolphin helicopter conducting maritime patrol reportedly detected a speedboat operating at high speed in international waters known for drug trafficking routes. The footage, released by U.S. Coast Guard Public Affairs, shows what happens next. Precision interdiction using small arms fire against the boat's propulsion system. The context: maritime drug interdiction in the Eastern Pacific Transit Zone. This region, stretching from South America toward Mexico and the United States, sees regular narcotics trafficking via high-speed boats, often called go-fast vessels. According to Coast Guard data, these operations represent a significant portion of cocaine interdiction efforts, though the majority of trafficking still reaches its destination. The boats, typically 30 to 40 feet long, powered by multiple high-horsepower outboard engines, capable of speeds exceeding 50 knots in calm seas. The Coast Guard's response: layered detection and interdiction capability. Maritime patrol aircraft provide wide-area surveillance. Helicopters offer rapid response and visual identification. Surface vessels conduct boarding and seizure operations. The system operates continuously across thousands of square miles of ocean. Detection methods include radar, infrared imaging, visual observation, and reportedly pattern analysis of vessel behavior, speed, course changes, and reactions to Coast Guard presence. The tactical challenge: stopping a high-speed vessel in open ocean without crew casualties. Verbal warnings at sea face obvious limitations. Ramming creates risk to both vessels. Nets or other physical barriers are impractical at these speeds and distances. The solution visible in released footage: disabling fire aimed at the boat's engines using a precision rifle from a helicopter platform. According to Coast Guard procedures and visible equipment, the weapon used is reportedly a .50 caliber rifle, likely a Barrett M107 or similar platform. The goal: mechanical kill of the propulsion system, forcing the vessel to stop without harming the crew. The technique requires specific conditions: a stable helicopter platform, a clear line of fire, authorization from the command authority, and an acceptable sea state. The .50 caliber BEG Browning machine gun cartridge was developed in 1918 for anti-aircraft and anti-materiel use. The round fires a projectile weighing approximately 660 to 700 grains, 43 to 45 grams, at muzzle velocities around 2,800 feet per second. This generates muzzle energy in the range of 13,000 to 14,000 foot-pounds, sufficient to penetrate light armor, concrete, and engine blocks at considerable distance. Modern precision rifles chambered in .50 BMG offer effective ranges beyond 1,500 meters under ideal conditions. For maritime interdiction, engagement ranges appear significantly closer based on released footage, likely 50 to 200 meters. This accounts for helicopter stability, sea state, target movement, and risk mitigation. The Barrett M107A1, commonly used by military and law enforcement, weighs approximately 31 pounds loaded. Length, 57 inches. Magazine capacity, 10 rounds. The weapon features a recoil-reducing muzzle brake and free-floating barrel for accuracy. Firing from a helicopter presents unique challenges. The platform is in motion. Rotor wash creates turbulence. The shooter must account for helicopter movement, boat movement, wind, and bullet trajectory. Modern helicopters can stabilize for firing, but perfect stability is impossible. This explains why engagement requires relatively close range despite the weapon's theoretical capability at distance. The target: high-performance outboard engines. Modern outboard motors in the 300 to 400 horsepower range represent highly engineered machinery. Precision manufactured components operating at thousands of RPM, tight tolerances, complex fuel injection systems, electronic controls. They are also by design externally mounted and relatively exposed compared to inboard engines. This makes them viable targets for disabling fire. The ammunition used reportedly includes standard ball or armor-piercing variants. Against an aluminum engine cowling and internal components, either provides more than sufficient penetration. The goal is mechanical disruption, not destruction, render the engine inoperable, forcing the vessel to stop. What happens when a .50 caliber projectile strikes a high-performance outboard engine? The projectile, traveling at approximately 2,600 to 2,800 feet per second at engagement range, carries substantial kinetic energy. The engine cowling, typically aluminum or composite, provides minimal resistance. Upon penetration, the bullet encounters the engine's internal components while still carrying most of its energy. Potential impact points include the crankshaft, rotating at 5,000 to 7,000 RPM. This component converts combustion into rotational force. Damage here stops the engine immediately. The cylinder block, houses, pistons, and combustion chambers. Penetration causes catastrophic pressure loss and mechanical failure. Fuel injection system, disruption causes fuel delivery failure and a potential fire hazard. Electronic control modules. Modern engines rely on computer control. Damage renders the engine inoperable even if mechanical components survive. The immediate effect, engine failure. The boat, previously propelled by multiple engines at high speed, suddenly loses power from the damaged unit. If equipped with twin engines and only one is hit, thrust becomes asymmetric, with one engine pushing, the other dead weight. At high speed, this creates severe handling problems. The boat typically slews violently toward the dead engine, potentially causing the driver to reduce throttle on the remaining engine to regain control. The secondary effect, psychological impact on the crew. Hearing a .50 caliber impact even against the engine rather than the hull creates obvious awareness that continued flight risk escalation. Most crews reportedly reduce speed or stop after engine in case of a fire. The cost calculation tells part of the story, though exact figures vary. A .50 caliber round costs approximately $3 to $5, depending on type and procurement. A replacement outboard engine in the 300 to 400 horsepower range, $25,000 to $35,000 retail. But this comparison, while striking, misses the broader economic context.
6 PLB.
The interdiction operation involves helicopter flight time, typically $3,000 to $5,000 per hour, including fuel, maintenance, and crew costs. Surface vessel support, additional thousands per hour for cutter operations. Personnel costs, multi-agency coordination, intelligence analysis, and legal processing. Total operational cost per successful interdiction, likely $20,000 to $50,000 when all factors are included. Against this, the seizure value. According to Coast Guard data, the average cocaine seizure in these operations ranges from 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms. Wholesale value, cartel perspective, approximately $2,000 to $5,000 per kilogram. Potential U.S. street value after distribution, $25,000 to $40,000 per kilogram. A single interdiction preventing 1,500 kilograms from reaching U.S. markets. $40 to $60 million in potential street value. However, effectiveness must be measured against total trafficking volume. Coast Guard data suggests maritime interdictions capture an estimated 10 to 20% of cocaine moving through Eastern Pacific routes. Intelligence assessments indicate the majority still reaches destination markets. This creates a strategic question. At what interdiction rate does enforcement become economically unsustainable for trafficking organizations? Current rates appear insufficient to achieve that threshold. Maritime interdiction operates under specific legal authorities. In international waters, the Coast Guard can stop and board vessels under several frameworks: flag state consent, stateless vessel doctrine, or bilateral agreements with nations whose flags the vessels fly. Most interdictions occur with some form of legal authority established before boarding, either through vessel registration checks or diplomatic protocols. The use of force, including disabling fire, follows escalation procedures. Typically, identification and warning, verbal commands via loudspeaker or radio, warning shots across the bow, disabling fire against propulsion if flight continues. Authorization for disabling fire reportedly requires command approval, not a tactical decision made solely by the helicopter crew. Once stopped and boarded, suspects face federal prosecution under Title 21 of the U.S. Code drug trafficking statutes. Conviction rates for maritime interdictions with physical evidence aboard are reportedly very high, often exceeding 95%. Sentencing depends on quantity. Possession with intent to distribute, measured in tons, typically results in significant prison terms. The vessels themselves are seized under maritime law. Drugs become federal evidence. Crew members enter the federal criminal justice system. This interdiction method illustrates several operational principles. First, precision over force. The goal is mechanical incapacitation, not destruction. Disabling an engine achieves the mission objective, stopping the vessel without broader violence. This reflects rules of engagement designed to minimize harm while accomplishing law enforcement objectives. The technique requires significant skill, accurate shooting from an unstable platform against a moving target in a marine environment. Second, layered response capability. The helicopter doesn't operate alone. Surface vessels provide backup. Aircraft provide overhead surveillance. Communication systems coordinate the response. Command authority approves escalation. This layered approach provides options. If the boat stops after warnings, no shooting occurs. If disabling fire is required, surface vessels are positioned to conduct boarding immediately afterwards. Third, the limitations of interdiction. Even successful operations like this capture only a fraction of total trafficking. The economic incentive remains. High-value cargo, relatively low operational costs for traffickers, and the probability of successful transit that keeps the trade viable. Each interdiction imposes costs on trafficking organizations, but not enough to eliminate the activity. This is enforcement, not eradication. Maritime interdiction represents one component of a broader counter-narcotic strategy. The Coast Guard's role: disrupt maritime smuggling routes, impose costs on trafficking networks, seize contraband before it reaches U.S. territory. According to their published data, the service conducts hundreds of interdictions annually, seizing hundreds of thousands of kilograms of cocaine. This prevents substantial quantities from reaching U.S. markets. However, effectiveness faces inherent limitations. The Eastern Pacific Transit Zone covers millions of square miles. Coast Guard assets, while capable, cannot maintain a presence everywhere simultaneously. Traffickers adapt routes and methods based on enforcement patterns. Intelligence estimates suggest 80 to 90% of cocaine trafficking still successfully transits to destination markets. This indicates that while interdiction imposes costs and creates risk for traffickers, it does not prevent the majority of trafficking activity. The technique visible in this footage, precision disabling fire, maximizes effectiveness within these constraints. It allows relatively small Coast Guard forces to stop high-speed vessels that would otherwise evade surface ships. It does so with minimal risk to crews on both sides. It creates evidence for prosecution. But the broader strategic challenge remains. As long as market demand and profit margins support trafficking, interdiction alone cannot eliminate the activity. This operation represents successful tactics within a strategically incomplete approach.